Hey guys, it's Aaron Respect, and we're back with a video about Halo Infinite's campaign and what we know. First off, here's a disclaimer that this video will be covering the major details of the campaign and may intentionally leave out the minor details. Let's start with enemies and the different types of enemies we know to be confirmed in Halo Infinite. The main enemy in the game is the Banished, which was first introduced in Halo Wars 2. This is the first 343 main Halo title to feature brutes, and they'll play a massive role throughout Infinite. You can expect to see the various ranks we're familiar with, like the Captain, Chieftain, and new ones like the Warrior. Next mid-sized enemy are the Elites, and from what we have seen, they're returning to a more classic Halo model that players know and love from the Bungie era Halo games. Moving towards the smaller enemies, of course it isn't a Halo game without the fan favorite, the Grunts. Now we can expect the Grunts to be just like the Grunts before, except they can be thrown towards you. I can already see myself dying on Legendary to these airborne suicide Grunts. Let's just hope the Jackals aren't as bad as Halo 2's. And the Jackal is the last enemy we have seen in-game. Again, expect most of these enemies to behave in a familiar Halo style. Now let's talk about the Hunters. Unfortunately, we don't have footage of them in action yet, but thankfully to Joseph Staten, we have a detailed description of how Chief versus Hunter combat looks like and plays differently from the past Halos. In the Dances with Hunters segment in the January blog, he overcomes the Hunter by using a grapple shot to quickly get behind and hit the Hunter's weak spot. They're much faster and require the player to approach the encounter differently. I can't wait to see it in action. They also mentioned Forerunner Sentinels in a blog. Now we're unsure if they're going to be hostile or they'll act neutral until provoked. I'm excited to see them back in the game. Here's a quick list of enemies so far that are missing from Halo Infinite. Flood. We're hopeful that they'll surprise us and have the Flood make an appearance in Halo Infinite since it's a big part of Halo Wars 2 Awakening the Nightmare DLC. And then we have the Skirmishers, Drones, Prophets, and the entire 343 Forerunner enemies. The main antagonist of the campaign seems to be Escharum. Although Aatrox is still the leader of the Banished, expect Halo Infinite's story to progress with DLC throughout the years. The campaign will be paid to play, so you will have to purchase the game, but remember, it will always be on Xbox Game Pass. Now, Joseph Staten has said that he has played the campaign in its entirety twice in the first week that he was there. This tells us that the game is finished and they're in the polishing stages by now. Halo Infinite's campaign will run on a brand new engine called the Slipspace engine at 4K 60 FPS on the new Xbox Series X consoles. We don't have resolution details for how it will run on the older generation Xbox One consoles, but it will bring back couch co-op up to 2 players, with online co-op being up to 4. For the PC crowd out there, we can expect the game to run at much higher frames and have all the features PC players have come to expect. All cutscenes will be rendered in-game instead of taking you out, essentially playing a pre-rendered video. Therefore, we'll get a much more natural transition as we see in Halo 3 compared to what we received in Halo 5. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the news, you may have heard the game being called an open world. 343 has stated it is not an open world game, although you can freely explore with little to no invisible walls or kill barriers stopping the player. If you can see it, you should be able to go there. The game will feature a TAC map that will help you explore the dynamic environment that features a day to night cycle with a 3D modeled skybox. We'll even see the ring eclipse the sun, casting a sudden midnight-like shadow. We know the world is large enough that you can go to the edge of the ring and knock things off and watch them float away. Here are some of the many areas we can expect to see. They are wetlands, swampy, war-torn, high altitude, and moody areas, set within the Pacific Northwest theme. Unfortunately, we already know dynamic weather like rain and snow will not be coming until after launch, but they already have fog and wind that will cycle throughout Zeta Halo. The ring will be full of non-hostile wildlife, audio logs to find, optional encounters to rescue Marines, recapture bases, along with random hostile encounters. Think of public events or patrols from Destiny. Skulls are yet to be confirmed to be in Halo Infinite, but you can expect them to make a return, and hopefully they're hidden within the environment. Within the TAC map, we see an upgrades tab that will allow you to make your equipment more powerful. We have yet to see how in-depth these upgrades are, but I can expect them to be pretty simple. So far, we've only seen two types of equipment, which are the drop shield, which resembles the deployable cover from Halo 3, and the grapple shot that will add many new ways to use your environment. 343 has stated in the early stages they've experimented with weapon upgrades and variants, but it didn't feel like Halo. Speaking of that, let's move on to weapons and grenades. So far, we've seen 4 different types of grenades: the traditional frag grenade, plasma grenade, and spike grenade, with an entirely new grenade to the franchise that's able to stun enemies around it. For the UNSC weapons, we have the battle rifle, assault rifle, sniper rifle, Hydra, the Spanker rocket launcher, and I'm so glad they went with the Spanker design over the eyesore that we had in Halo 5. Now we have new to the franchise guns such as the VK-78 Commando that seems to play as a much more precision auto rifle, the Sidekick pistol that has been mentioned to play similar to the Gunfighter Magnum from Halo 5, and then the Bulldog. It's a shotgun that fires at a much faster rate and will replace the traditional classic Halo shotgun, at least at launch. Here are a couple of weapons we haven't seen in official art yet. We have a Funko Pop Spartan holding a weapon that's called the Shock Rifle. We don't know how this weapon will function, along with a new pistol called the Disruptor. You can see this weapon packaged with a Spartan toy. Hopefully we'll get to see these in action soon. That wraps up the UNSC side for weaponry, but we have many new weapons on the Banished side with some familiar faces. First, we have the Ravager, which is a 3-round burst brute launcher with an overheat feature that we see in other plasma-based weapons. Next, we have a Pulse Carbine that is also a 3-round burst from the campaign trailer with the same overheating feature. Now, the Mingler resembles the Mauler from Halo 3, but it is more like a brute pistol. Next is the Skewer. This weapon seems powerful as it is an anti-tank weapon and will fire rocket-sized spikes that will penetrate armor. The final banished weapon we see is the Stalker Rifle, which seems to be replacing the beam rifle for Jackal snipers as we see it packaged with one for this toy. And of course, the returning favorites we've seen in gameplay or toy promotions are the Gravity Hammer, Energy Sword, Needler, and Plasma Pistol. The last weapon we know of is through the toys, and it's called an Armament Blaster. This is truly a mystery weapon, and it is the first Forerunner variant that we see. We are expecting to see many new weapons along with more familiar ones in Halo Infinite. We'll just have to see what 343 has planned. To close out the video, let's talk about vehicles. The only drivable vehicle we see in action has been the Warthog, but we've seen screenshots of the Banished Banshee along with 343 speaking out about Wraiths, Scorpions, Wasps to make a return. So we can expect most of the iconic vehicles from the Halo franchise. The vehicle playstyle in Halo Infinite will play much different from Halos in the past. Here's 343's lead sandbox designer Quendo Hoyo explaining further.
Just to tease a little bit, because it's exciting and it's really cool, is that we are putting more effort into a fully fledged damage response system to our vehicles, because we wanted to award our pilots and our drivers, our wheelmen, if you will, that when they drive the vehicles that we're going to be having in Halo Infinite, that there's more to it than just simply health. Like I got damaged, and the more there's only a finite amount of health I have, and then the vehicle will go to a doom state and explode. So we're trying to get a more of when a certain tire gets shot out, then the vehicle will drive differently. Or air vehicles, how they will handle based on where they receive damage from. So that also plays into, as an attacker trying to deal with vehicles, I now have more interesting choices of how I want to eliminate that vehicle or affect that enemy pilot or that enemy driver. I could shoot out wheels, I could shoot out different areas of the wings and things like that. That again, I don't want to spoil all of it, but it's really cool and exciting, and something that we're going to continue to develop with not only new vehicles but even existing vehicles. We're going to take that system and tune it and make it better over time as well.
That wraps up what we know about Halo Infinite's campaign and features we can expect as of now. We'll be following and making videos for Halo Infinite, so if you like what you see, hit that like button, share with your friends, subscribe and hit the bell, follow us on Twitter to stay updated, and leave a comment on what weapon you're most excited to use.